Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm in a class called TED, which stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And each week, students from this class have to record YouTube videos. And this particular week, we have the pleasure of talking about something that we know a little bit about. And so, I would like to talk about an art form that is very dear to me, musical theater. And I would like to address why people enjoy musical theater, why people spend so much money to see a Broadway show. So, I'll begin. When I was 11, my grandmother took me to New York City for the first time to see my first 3 Broadway musicals: Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Beauty and the Beast, and The Lion King. I remember admiring the performers as they sang and danced and exuded absolute passion. It seemed as though everything they had to do on stage, everything they did, every interaction they made, every relationship that was formed, had a purpose. And each night I saw a different show, and each night a different story was told. And each night I found myself consistently reminding myself that these stories weren't real, that the relationships formed on stage weren't fact, that none of this stuff was true. And that just confused me, because at times I laughed, and sometimes I cried, and sometimes I found myself afraid, and sometimes I found myself upset or angry or frustrated at some of the characters. I mean, my emotions were real, my emotions were fact, my emotions were true. So like I said, this confused me, and I began to wonder, why do people spend so much money to see a Broadway show? I mean, our tickets were expensive, about at least $200 per seat. We had good seats. And so I'm just like, why? I was thinking, why do people spend so much money to see essentially pretenders? And why am I, as an aspiring actor, willing to dedicate my entire life to pretending? And so, yeah, this question, I've been seeking an answer since then. And so last summer, I spent 2 weeks at the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music studying musical theater. It was a part of this summer high school musical theater workshop through the preparatory department at CCM. And there were about 40 kids in the program, and the workshop was a series of master classes taught by some faculty of the school and also from some resident professors from all around the U.S. And so one of my favorite master classes was taught by a guy named Rocco Del Vera. And before he began his lecture, he asked the question, "What is acting?" And for a while it was silent, and then one girl had the courage, and she raised her hand, and she said, "Acting is reacting." And he's like, Rocco Del Vera says, "No, that's not right." And so then a couple more people, they shout out their answers, and he denies all of them. He declines all of them. And then I finally work up the courage to say, "Acting is pretending." And immediately, Professor Del Vera, he was not happy. He quickly and he angrily said, "Acting is not pretending. Pretending is giving a false appearance of. Acting is behaving truthfully in imaginary circumstances." And as soon as I heard that definition, I had never heard it before, and it resonated within me. And after we got through that part, he taught an acting technique that he described in a textbook that he co-wrote called Acting for Musical Theater, and that technique is called actioning. And basically, the technique, it involves giving each breath unit in a song or a monologue a human emotion or a certain action. So obviously, when someone or an actor is performing a monologue or singing a song, he or she is talking to someone. And basically this technique calls for that actor to apply a certain action to each breath unit. So, for example, one of my college audition songs is a song called Boy with Dreams from a show called Edges. And the first two breath units in the pre-chorus is Wouldn't you want to buy a car that has jet wings? Or how about a spacecraft that'll warp you through time? So that was me just singing it straight through without, I was just singing the 2-breath unit straight through without any action or without any emotion. So say that for the first breath unit, I apply the action of I convince you, I convince the person, whoever I'm singing to, I'm convincing you. And then the second breath unit could be I caress you, I embrace you. So here's how that would sound. Wouldn't you want to buy a car that has jet wings? Or how about a spacecraft that'll warp you through time? See the difference? The first time, I simply sang beautifully. The second time, I not only sang beautifully, but I sang with real human emotion. I sang with real human actions. And that's what musical theater is. Musical theater is not simply singing a song or simply reciting some lines that were written. I mean, anyone can do that. But it's when you apply human emotion to what you're doing, that's when that's when it becomes truthful and believable. And that's what people pay to see. And so now I'm going to fast forward to 2 months ago. I was in a show called Crazy for You as a part of Muse Machine, and the director was Joe Deere, and he's a professor at Wright State University. He's an acting professor for the musical theater department. And I had my first college audition was in November, and it was for Baldwin Wallace's College Conservatory of Music, and which is a pretty prestigious program for musical theater. And I was so nervous, and I just wanted Joe to critique my audition. So I prepared all my material for him, and he liked it. He said I sang well, and he said I acted well. However, he thought it wasn't believable enough, and he told me to put an action on each breath unit. And I was like, wait, Joe, isn't this technique called actioning? And he was like, yes, I talk about that in my book I co-wrote with a guy named Rocco Del Vera, called Acting for Musical Theater. Yes, Joe Deere, the guy I worked with, for the guy who directed my musical, he co-wrote the same textbook as Rocco Del Vera. And he worked with me for about an hour on my audition material, applying different actions, specific actions for each breath unit in both of my songs and both of my monologues. And I had my audition, and I took what he said to heart, and I applied it, and I got into the program, which is amazing. And for that, I am forever grateful that Joe Deere assisted me with my audition material. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that had I not applied that human emotion, had I not applied those human actions to my performance, I honestly don't think I would have gotten into the program. Because as aspiring artists, as aspiring musical theater performers, it's expected that we sing well. It's expected that we act at a certain level of competitiveness. However, it's not going to be a singing contest, because we all can sing well, but it's those who apply human emotion, genuine feelings to what they're doing. Those are the ones who are going to succeed in musical theater. That's what I believe. So that's what people pay. That's why people pay so much money to see musical theater shows. They don't pay to see people stand on the stage and sing beautifully. Anyone can do that, but they pay to see someone. They pay to see someone exude human emotion while they sing beautifully. It's just a plus. That's why I do not regret at all majoring in musical theater next fall. I do not regret at all wanting to be an actor. I honestly believe that an actor has the best job in the world. Not only can actors cry on cue, but they can make others cry. Not only can an actor laugh on cue, but they can make others laugh. That's a beautiful thing. That's the most beautiful thing.